feel like no matter what side of gaming you're on right now, whether you play video games or whether you prefer watching video games like Let's Plays or Twitch streams, I feel like everybody and their mother has heard of the word or the name Genshin Impact in the last couple of weeks. This is a brand new game that recently came out. It is available on major platforms, and a lot of people are talking about it. It's kind of like the new kid on the block. It's addicting, it's obsessive, it's fun, it's engaging, and I'm completely and utterly guilty of being in that camp of people who have played this game, who have streamed this game, and I've wanted to talk about this game ever since it came out. I've put in over 50 hours on the PlayStation 4. I'm currently running it back on PC because the PC does offer 60 frames per second, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for jumping into the PS4 version as fiercely as I did day one without realizing that. But nonetheless, I really, really, really love this game. I am invested, I am obsessed, I am addicted, and I'm in love with Genshin Impact. And this video wasn't even planned. I'm sitting down right now to record my initial thoughts. I'm gonna have some gameplay up on the screen for you guys to show you guys some of the visual appeal that the game offers, from combat to environments to quest lines and stuff like that. No spoilers if you guys want to jump into the game, of course. But yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying myself playing this game. I picked up the game, I started playing it from day one on launch in North America, and I've not only played the game and have enjoyed it. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I've been hashtagging Genshin Impact like every single day. I'm pretty sure I've annoyed some of my followers, but more than anything, I've just been obsessed with the game because I haven't really had a game to sink my teeth into really since Persona 5 Royal back in April when it came out. Obviously, I've dipped into a couple of games since then, at least on Twitch. Catherine Full Body, I played a couple of the Halo games, but nothing, because I'm really waiting for next gen to kick off, and obviously Ruby Volume 7, and I'm currently invested right now in Red vs. Blue. But in terms of gaming, this is the game that I've been waiting to play since last year when I first saw it at E3. I saw Amber actually in one of the promotional videos, but she was speaking, I believe, a Chinese language, and I was like, wow, she looks gorgeous. She's like a really cute looking, anime-themed, anime-styled character. I saw a bit of gameplay, and I've been following the game, at least waiting for it to come out, ever since E3 last year, and now it's out. I've been playing it, I'm obsessed, and I just want to talk about my experience with the game, what I love about the game, what I think it does really, really well, and more than anything, answering questions or answering general questions that I've gotten from some of you guys on Twitter and on Twitch, for people who are on the fence about picking up the game, who are apprehensive about a couple of things like the gacha system. Like I said, I think at this point I've put like 70 hours in the game between PS4 and PC. And while I'm not completely far in the game in terms of story, I just wanted to record this. This is not a review. This is not an impressions video. This is not sponsored. This is just simply me talking about a game that I've been playing for the last 2 weeks, and I want to share my love, and I want to share my experience with you guys and get you guys on the same page to understand that this is definitely worth checking out if you are on the fence about playing it more than anything. So starting from the beginning, I think the first question I need to answer is, what is Genshin Impact exactly? So Genshin Impact is a free-to-play action RPG that is developed and published by a Chinese developer by the name of MiHoYo, and the game is available for PC, iOS, Android, and PlayStation 4. It does support cross-platform play, which means if you are on PS4, you can play with people on PC. If you are on PC, you can play with people on mobile and vice versa. However, cross-save, which is saves between platforms, is only between PC and mobile. If you are on PS4, your save has to stay on PlayStation 4. I learned that first and foremost more than anyone. That is why I have to start on a new account on PC, but, I'm willing to do that. So I also can say I haven't experienced it myself, but the game does have up to 4-player cooperative multiplayer. You can play with your friends once you reach adventure rank 16 in the game. So if this is something that you want to experience from a single-player perspective, and then you realize, hey, I want to run this domain, or I want to run this dungeon with a buddy, or I want to do this weekly boss with a buddy, you can invite them. Both of you guys can scale up, have a certain build, run a boss together, and, play together that way. There are some restrictions. I don't have experience with it because I haven't played the multiplayer, but that is something to consider as well. So I think I'll first and foremost just address the elephant in the room. I see everybody and their mother calling this game Anime Breath of the Wild, And from an aesthetic standpoint, it is very anime. It has a lot of anime vibes, a lot of anime, you know, aesthetic with the character designs more than anything. The cutscenes and the action in this game is anime as fuck. Like, the first opening scene with the twins and the nameless woman is, like, so fire. And then you get some of the cutscenes in the story, like, a lot of the action moments are just, like, very high-octane action. Animation is on point, voice acting is on point, and it feels like you're watching an anime. So, if you're a fan of anime like I was, I think that was my what generally pulled me in, right? Seeing Amber's design, it felt very cute, very anime-styled. So the aesthetic is already appealing for me on that front. Where the Breath of the Wild ripoff comes into play, I feel like that's a very shallow jab at the game, because Breath of the Wild popularized three things since its release. It popularized the lush green open world aesthetic, it popularized the paragliding, and it popularized climbing and scaling, you know, mountains and buildings and stuff like that with stamina. I don't think any of those things are generally exclusive to Breath of the Wild, but because Breath of the Wild popularized it, you know, when you have a game like Genshin Impact or an upcoming game like Immortals Phoenix Rising, which I feel like is more of a blatant copy and paste than this game, I can definitely see the similarities. It is what it is. This game definitely adopts those mechanics because clearly it worked for Breath of the Wild, and applying it to other games will only enrich those games, and if anything, they have Breath of the Wild to thank because of that. With that said, I think this game adds a lot and separates itself from the crowd in a lot of different ways, especially when it comes to the writing, not only from the main story, but the NPC interactions and the in-game lore, from the books to the characters to the NPC interactions and everything else in between. And that's what I take away more than anything. I'm taking away more than anything the lore and the history of the universe and how they're going about fleshing out the characters, fleshing out the backstory, and making this world more vibrant and alive. And I have a lot of things to talk about regarding that more than anything. The last elephant in the room that I want to address really quick is the gacha system. And I think this is what's scaring off most people to jump in and just play the game and have a good time and enjoy and appreciate it for what it is. Let me say this right now, all right? And I'm going to say this very loud and very clear so everyone can hear it. This is the best free-to-play game on the market, period. Personally, I don't like mobile games, right? I grew up on console games, right? I grew up on the SNES and the Sega Genesis in the 90s. I've played pretty much every console that has been out since I've been alive. I have never enjoyed the idea of playing a game on my phone. My phone is mostly for communication purposes, business purposes, and stuff like that, more so in this day and age. Personally, I don't enjoy playing games on my phone. I enjoy playing games on a computer, or I enjoy playing games on a console. I've always associated, and as the times have gone on, it's become more and more clear that gacha systems are primarily tethered to low-effort games that are meant to psychologically manipulate and become almost predatory in its ways of getting people to shell out more money for less of an experience. And I'm not saying that that's a generalization across the board, but I think that's why gachas get such a bad rap, because it's like a gacha system is just a waifu generator. You just want the character. You don't care about playing the game. You just care about having the thing that you see other people getting, so you want it as well. And I get that, but that's more of a want versus a need. You don't need every character, all 30 or so characters in this game to enjoy this game. MiHoYo literally made what I feel is a AAA quality game, gave it away to people up front, and that level of generosity is why I decided to give them money. I was given upfront value, something that I've never really seen on a mobile game. Mobile games nickel and dime you. They expect you to pay for more time. They expect you to play for better options. They expect you to play to win, pay to win rather. And this is my first, I guess, quote unquote gacha game. You can play this entire game, not spend a dime, and be completely content with the value that you're given up front. That's why I feel like for most people, unless you have a very serious and a very real gambling or addiction problem where you are dead set on like emptying your bank account if you don't get this one specific character, don't play the game. Like, and I genuinely mean that for the sake of anyone who struggles with something very real as addiction or very real as, you know, fear of missing out, it's not worth it in that regard. But if you're someone who will give it a shot and won't, you know, cry over spilled milk and will enjoy the game for the experience that it is, it's definitely worth checking out and jumping into. Whether you're a fan of the genre or not, you really have nothing to lose but maybe an hour of your time. If you play the game for more than 2 hours and you're not enjoying it, then it's probably not for you. But if you can enjoy this game without spending a dime, then maybe it is worth actually throwing them a couple of bucks, hitting the gacha, and seeing what you get. So the progression that I've made so far has been pretty substantial. I've streamed the game for about 20 hours, mainly doing character quests, story quests, stuff like that. I've put over 50 hours on the PS4 version, but then I decided to restart the game on PC because the 60 frames per second looked way better, and I'm considering making videos on this game, mainly from a lore and NPC interaction standpoint, because I'm not too crazy about min-maxing. There's so many like sweaty players right now playing the game, trying to hit the gacha, get big damage, DPS builds, and like rush to the end game, and then once they get to the end game in a week, they complain that there's nothing else to do in the game, which is kind of frustrating because there's so much that this game offers. So I'm running it back right now on PC. I'm genuinely taking my time. I'm enjoying every NPC I come across. I'm enjoying the music that I'm hearing while I'm unlocking, you know, chests and leveling up. I am considering uploading some of my playthrough to YouTube, but let me know what you guys think about that, because I know there's the Halo series that I need to get out, and I know I have to get back to Persona 5 Vanilla. But this is a new game, and this is like fresh off the block, and I feel like I can get through this relatively speaking, especially with Red versus Blue going on in Ruby. So let me know. And like I said, I do stream this game. I am going to be getting back to streaming once I'm caught up on the PC version, twitch.tv/MurderofBirds. But I do want to talk about a couple of aspects of this game that I feel are that really excel and that really push me to enjoy the game and to continue playing it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the combat and the progression. So you've probably been seeing gameplay for like, I don't even know how long this video is going. I'm rambling right now. This is probably going to be like a half an hour, 40-minute video. No bullshit. The combat is fun. Like, it's so fun, in fact, that there have been days that I've put off recording and editing videos because I'm addicted to the gameplay. It's like that fun. The combat is fluid, it's tight, it's responsive. It reminds me kind of like a mesh between a bunch of other action games, right? God of War, Kingdom Hearts 3, Nier Automata, Devil May Cry 5. These are games that when you think of these games, you think of how quick, how tight, how responsive the gameplay is. It's not floaty combat. The animation transitions are very fluid and clean and believable. There's combo canceling as well in this game, so that kind of adds to the character swapping mechanic, where you can do one combo with one character, inflict an element, switch to another character, inflict additional element, and get a chain reaction going. I think that's one of the aspects of the combat it's almost like a matching game. It's like what two elements will match to give me the most damage, and you have 4 characters in your party, so as long as you're mixing and matching, you can be putting out the most damage over time. So I think that's really cool. That's with the elemental system, which creates elemental reactions between characters and swapping. So for example, if you have a water character and electric character, you can get an electro charge. If you have an electric character and a fire character, you can get an overload going. An ice and fire character creates vapors, and then wind with any element gives you like a swirl elemental ability. And ultimately, the name of the game is to dish out damage, level up, increase your world level, which increases all enemies in the game, and kind of keep that gameplay loop going, which is mainly focused and centralized around the combat. Some of my favorite characters that I run are characters that are melee, kind of like aggressive in your face. I like being able to do damage and look cool while doing it, right? I think Zhongling is one of the coolest characters for her combo moveset right now. I think Diluc is another one that's really cool because you can mix his normal slashes with his fire imbued slashes, like his special ability, and those just look super cool. They're both fire characters as well. Range characters I kind of keep in my back pocket, but I don't think range does all that much damage right now. I also want to say this really quick too, because I feel like my experience is going to be very, very different from the average player. I think combat enjoyment is also dependent on what characters you have. There's about 30 characters in the game, and again, this is where the gacha system comes into the play. You have a main character. Throughout the game, I think you get, at most, I think like 7 or 8 free characters. You get the main character who's wind-based. You have Amber, Kaya, Lisa. You can get Barbara at adventure rank 20. You get Zhongling once you complete floor 3, chamber 3 of the Spiral Abyss. And MiHoYo's been really generous with giving out like free gems, which are basically pulls for the gacha. So So you can actually pull like 40, 50 pulls right now for free just by getting to level 10, and you're guaranteed Noelle and at least one other character from those pulls. So you're actually going to be able to get one of every elemental character if you're not committed to pulling the gacha. And that's where I say it's more of a want for the gacha than a need. Most people who are pulling the gacha is because they want a character, not because they need it to progress the game. It's not because you need it for the game to be enjoyable. Obviously, there's going to be variety there when it comes to the characters, like I said, because there's 5 main characters. There's the swordsman, there's the characters who use bows, there's characters that are spellcasters, characters that use great swords, and characters that use spears. And I feel like if you are a free-to-play only, and I say free-to-play because there's no pay to win. There's no competitive aspect to the game. I hate when people are saying this game's pay to win. If anything, it's pay to have a different experience than everybody else. If everyone played the free-to-play model, played with only free-to-get characters, everyone would have the same exact experience, more so than anything. And there's 30 characters, and obviously the monetary gain, the monetary investment is the gacha system. So if you want new characters, if the gacha system at some point or another is necessary. And again, like I said, for a game being free, for as much as it gives you up front in terms of value, you can never hit the gacha if you're completely content with the characters that they give. And there are people who are content with the characters that they give, because there are some good characters. You can play this entire game, not spend a dime, and just say to yourself, I can't believe a developer just made a game like this and just gave it to people for free. It almost is kind of like reverse psychology. It's like, this game is almost so good, I feel guilty playing it and not giving them money. And that's kind of what's compelled me to give them more money than the standard $60. But yeah, the combat is the bread and butter of this game. I'm pretty sure the gameplay that I am showing you on screen is from a variety of different perspectives, a variety of different characters that are possible to be pulled from the gacha. As most of the characters that are free, if you do decide to play the game, you'll be playing those characters yourself. So I figured I'd show characters that have a chance to be pulled if it is something that you're willing to check out. Another thing that I really like about the game is that there's always, at least for the early game, right? At least for where I am, and I continue to be, because I'm still in Mondstadt. I haven't even unlocked, like, I'm gonna show you guys my map right now. I haven't even unlocked Leeway, which is like 80% of the game. I'm still exploring the first 20% of the game, 70 hours in. I haven't even explored the other 80% of the game, and I feel like at where I am right now, there's a constant worthy sense of progression if you take your time. If you're one of these sweaty players who's like, I need a min-max, I need to have those big damage DPS builds, I need to be able to grind through everything, blitz through the story, do the end game content, and then when you're doing one weekly boss a week and you have nothing else to do because you blitz through the game and you have no sense of progression to keep you going, right? I feel like most people who are playing this game are treating it almost like a Borderlands experience, right? It's a looter shooter. You need the best loot in the game. You need the max DPS, and fuck the story, fuck the characters, fuck the side quests. Just give me the addicting gameplay that's going to keep me looped in the game until I get bored, right? I feel like if you take your time, if you go at your own pace, and if you take a chance to just smell the roses, take in the scenery, listen to the music, talk to some NPCs, do some character quests, read books in this game. The lore, I swear to God, like, the number one thing in this game that I love more than anything is how well the writing team has put into the flavor text of weapons, the legitimate books you can read. You can read straight up volumes on top of volumes on top of volumes of books in this game and get so much history, so much lore, so much backstory on characters that we have and haven't seen, right? Because the game just came out. They're already confirmed other regions will be added. The story is going to be ever expanding as time goes on, and you have these players who are like sweaters, like they just sweat and reach the max level in a week and then complain that there's nothing to do in the game when there's stuff to do in the game that they just don't care about, and you know, everyone just downplays it. So that's something that I'm genuinely like passionate about right now, is the lore, is the flavor text, is the history that the writers put time and effort into that no one's really talking about. The general sense of progression is there. RPGs in general have been my favorite games to play since I was a kid, right? I grew up playing games like Wild Arms 2 and Legend of Dragoon, even more recently Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, Persona 5 Royal, and I always loved the idea of leveling up, hitting that next level, you know, grinding to be able to fight fight that next enemy or that next boss and make a little bit more progression. And I think this game does it in a bunch of different and interesting ways, right? You have your character level where you increase your general base stats by using like the experience sheets and paying in-game money, like the Mona money, or Mora, I think. Yeah, it's called Mora. Like the gold coins to level up your character. You can level up your adventure rank by offering animoculi to the statues, by finding waypoints, discovering chests. The adventure rank is as it says, like explore, go on an adventure, discover things, and you will be rewarded for it. That will increase your adventure rank, which will then allow you to do other things like daily quests and eventually be able to play with your friends. You can upgrade your weapons too, like your weapons have a level up, so your weapons base stats will increase as well to match whatever level you are, so you can be putting out the overall max amount of damage. And you can even ascend, which is essentially breaking the level cap. So all the characters at base cap out at level 20. If you ascend, you can actually jump your level from 20 to 40, and then from 40 to 50, and then from 50 to 80. And that really is kind of prepping you for like end game boss level kind of stuff. I think the sense of progression will always be there as long as you take your time and you're not just trying to reach the end of the game in a week and really ruin the experience that's there for you. So as much as I love the aesthetic, as much as I love the combat, as much as I love the lore and the backstory and all that stuff, one thing that I have cherished as I've been continuing to explore in this game has been the music. The soundtrack is so needed in this time, right? Like, we live in a 2020 scenario where COVID is a thing, quarantining is a thing, aggression and animosity I feel like is at an all-time high, especially online. This game kind of takes it all away. The soundtrack is very tranquil, it's very calming, beautiful music, beautiful pianos, beautiful string instruments. Whether you're in Mondstadt, I got a little glimpse of it, of Leeway during Zhang Ling's quest. I can't wait to unlock that place. It really does coincide with the sense of freedom and the scale of the adventure, right? Scaling a mountain, running through a grassy field, or even just sitting on a bench and taking the scene in. There's always a constant sense of freedom, there's a sense of calmness, there's a sense of adventure, and there's a sense of wisdom. And that's one thing too, when, you know, not to compare the games, but like Breath of the Wild didn't really have a lot of music for what I remember. A lot of the music was mainly, from my memory, like major locations, right? Like the horse stables whenever Kaz was around, Kakariko Village, Goron City, Hateno Village. Those are the ones that are most vivid in my mind. The Guardian music whenever you came across one of those guys, you know, Hyrule Castle. But like exploring the overworld was just like, all you heard was like the pitter patter of Link's feet, which that was ASMR like heaven to me. Like, I loved the pitter pattering of Link's feet and his weapons clunking together. That was some good ambience. But this game definitely gives that sense of, that genuine sense of adventure with the music there. And I feel like every song is complimentary no matter what you're doing. The music when you're fighting is appropriate. The music when you're just walking through the fields or walking through rain or whatever the case might be, or scaling a mountain, like I said. I think tranquil is the best way to describe it. It definitely matches the aesthetic. It matches the tone of the game, especially when you're first starting out. And like I said, this is all just from Mondstadt's perspective. Like, I got a little taste of Leeway's music because I was on the outskirts of the Leeway territory during one of Zhang Ling's character quests. And Leeway is heavily influenced by like Chinese culture and, you know, the Chinese aesthetic and Chinese music and outfits and stuff like that. It's essentially China in the game, and I absolutely cannot wait. Zhang Ling's design is absolutely phenomenal, and the music that I heard for the point that I was at, I'm so excited to hear everything else and just explore that region when I get to it. That being said, for anyone who is playing who hasn't reached it yet, I think Dawn Winery is the best song in Mondstadt, and I'm not even capping. Like, please tell me they used Canon and D by Pachelbel for inspiration here. Like I said, best song in Mondstadt. So I want to dial it back really quick and just mention again the anime aesthetic, right? Mainly it comes down to the character designs. If you're a fan of anime, chances are you're probably already playing this game just based on the way the characters are designed. I think the designs are all like chef's kiss amazing. Every character in this game is completely dripped out. I absolutely love it. Everyone has like a breath of uniqueness to their aesthetic, to the way that they look, to the way that they're dressed. It also is accompanied by, you know, where they're from. So characters in Liyue dress a certain way compared to characters in Mondstadt. And I think at the end of the day, it's just like a waifu and husbando kind of thing, right? Either you're dressed to the nines or you have no business being as dummy thick as you are. But I guess that's why we're all playing the game, right? But no, like in all seriousness, I think that the design is also what really drives people to play certain characters or go for certain characters with the gacha. Diluc is like one of the most stylish badasses in this entire game, right? The black, the brownish gold trim of his outfit, the red hair, the red and black gloves, like he's just like dripped out completely, and it kind of applies to the fact that he runs a winery empire. I think that's a really cool backstory to the way that he dresses and the way that he presents himself. You got Mona, who's just like thighs, like thick thighs save lives apparently. And there are some of these other characters too, like you have Changyu, you have Xingqiu, you have Zhongling, who have this very traditional Chinese Liyue inspired aesthetic, which is really, really nice. And I can't wait to really see the aesthetic in full when I make it to that territory. And all the other characters are great too. I think Razor has a really dope you know, aesthetic based on the fact that he's basically like raised by wolves. He doesn't live with other people. He lives like in the forest with a bunch of wolves in Wolvendom. So I think that definitely applies to the fact that he almost looks like a tribesman, if you will. Noelle was one of my first loves in the game. She's like a maid who wants to be a knight. So I think that's like super badass for the fact that she wields this giant ass claymore of a sword, and she's like so tiny and cute and petite, but the fact that she can throw down, which is really cool. And oh my fucking god, Lisa, holy fucking shit, Lisa. I might be an actual simp for Lisa. You say you're not a simp for Lisa, you're fucking lying. Look at her. Look at her.
I can be your teacher, your master, or your friend. Or all three if you want.
Actual bae. So the last thing that I want to talk about, and the last thing that I want to kind of save the best for last here, especially if you haven't made up your mind yet about what this game offers. Like I said, it offers fantastic combat, an interesting story as you play through it, a beautiful world to explore and to just lose yourself in and take your time with exploring and having a good time in. Most of the stuff that you see is free, obviously within reason. The music is breathtaking, and everything else applies in that general way of what this game offers. But the number one thing that I am committed to and invested in fully and solely at this point are the impressive character interactions, both for playable characters and for NPCs. Every single playable character in this game has a birthday. Every character in this game has an affinity, where they're from. Are they from Mondstadt? Are they from Liyue? Are they from Dawn Winery? Are they from Springvale? And they have like, you know, flavor texts about them, you know, about whether it's their motivations, their insecurities, what they do for a living, who they're affiliated with in the world. Every playable character also has voice acting, so you can actually get a sense of their character just by checking out their descriptions. And I think like that's one of the best things about the game that make the characters feel so lifelike and believable and real. Whereas Link, for example, again, not to compare Breath of the Wild, Link is a singular character. Doesn't really have a lot of personality, and from what I played with Breath of the Wild, it was very difficult for me to establish or attach myself to someone like Link or Zelda because I'm not very avid in the Legend of Zelda series. Like I said, Ocarina of Time was the only other Zelda game that I played, and that was like 20 years in the past. So I really had a tough time becoming attached to a lot of the characters that I played, especially the champions, because, you know, the events of the game took place after the 100 years. You know, we're getting the prequel story, you know, the Age of Calamity. The sequel is also coming out, so that can easily flesh out more characters like Zelda especially. I generally felt like the only character that I really attached myself to was Rivali, because like he was a Rito and I thought he was super cool, even though he had a kind of a cocky, condescending attitude. But yeah, it was very hard for me to, you know, and that was it. I only really had the main characters to attach attach myself with and become really close to. Kaz was super cool, you know, because he was dope. He was always like a treat to see and to hear with his music especially. But these characters, every character has a side quest that you can just, they are in the spotlight, them and solely them, because the game is really dependent on who you put in your party. So even if you don't decide to take Amber with you after you first get her, you at least get a quest to get a sense of her motivations, her fears, her goals, her aspirations, what she wants to do with her life, why she joined the Knights of Favonius and all that other stuff. And that applies for every other character down the list. I think Zhang Ling so far is my favorite character quest. You learn so much about her bubbly, energetic personality, how she became a chef, why she became a chef. You can see the passion just emanating from her throughout the entire mission. And that was like a real shocker to me. And it reminded me again, holy shit, this game is free. I can't believe they put this much effort and asked for nothing up front. This is incredible. And there's 30 other characters like this. I get to go on a quest with 30 other characters, get to see different perspectives, different viewpoints, conflicting viewpoints, crossover with some characters. And like the number one thing that I love the most, even more than the main characters, the characters you play as, are the NPCs. Because the NPCs feel real. They feel believable. They feel like they actually live and breathe, and they're not just a programming of zeros and ones designated to say one line of text every time you see them. And that's the number one thing that I kind of dislike about RPGs, especially open world games. I always feel like NPCs are just regurgitated, generic, boring parts of any type of game, and I mostly gloss over it. And that's what I kind of did for the start of the game. There's one character that changed my entire perspective. My entire perspective was changed when I met Ella Musk. So this little story goes like this. So I was streaming the game, and I came across the Knights of Favonius headquarters library after finishing a quest with Lisa. So I did Lisa's character quest, which again, Lisa's bae, Lisa's thick, Lisa's the best. And there was this massive library with a bunch of books in it, and you can actually sit and read all of these fucking books and learn about people like Lady Vanessa, about the Boar and the Princess, about gods and fairy tales and all that other stuff. And there's this little girl in the library, and her name is Ella Musk. Now, I actually was taken aback by that a little bit because I thought that name was a reference to Elon Musk. I was like, oh, that's a kind of funny little jab, you know, a little funny reference. Elon Musk, ha ha ha, that's funny. I didn't end up talking to her because at the time, again, I was like, yeah, NPCs, how interesting can that be? So I ended up like leaving the library, never talking to her, but obviously the Elon Musk, Ella Musk reference stayed in my head. A little while later, I end up in Didalpa Gorge to kind of go through, I was exploring, and I came across this other NPC named Dr. Livingstone. Now, she was an adventurer, and she basically informed me that there was this seal around this sword cemetery and the Hilichurls in the area, you know, these three different tribes, right? The Meaty tribe, the Sleepy tribe, and the Eclipse tribe were degrading the resting place of these warriors that died. So I went to each one of these tribes, destroyed them all. You know, I freed up the three seals. I got the treasure that was there. Probably shouldn't have, but I got it anyway because I think there was like a 4-star or a 5-star weapon, so I took it. She comes back to me and she says, hey, I need you to deliver this to a colleague of mine. Her name is Dr. Edith. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, sweet. Dr. Edith, you can find her at the Windrise Giant Tree. That's like one of my favorite locations in the game. So I give Dr. Edith this fetch quest item from Dr. Livingstone, and I realize, oh, Dr. Edith, she's kind of you know, she's a new NPC that I haven't talked to. And I talked to her, and my jaw absolutely dropped because not only did she give me vital information on I think a pivotal character of the lore, being Lady Vanessa, and I'm actually like super like invested to learn more about Lady Vanessa more than anything, especially because I want to like check out the Genshin Impact manga, which I hear talks a lot more about her. But yeah, Lady Vanessa was a topic that Dr. Edith informed me on, so that was lore on that front. But more so, she mentions to me that the little girl in the library, Ella Musk, that's her big sister. Ella Musk looks like a little tiny girl that just happens to like books. And I was like, holy shit, these two isolated characters are actually related and have kind of similar investments. Like one's a historian, one's interested in the language of the Hilichurlian species. And so that's when I was like, oh shit, this is actually going somewhere. Some of these characters and some of these, you know, interactions are actually meaningful. Then I had the biggest epiphany of my life. That same quest that I finished with Lisa, after you finish the last temple, she ends up giving you a book, right? It's called, long story short, The book is called The Dragon Tome. And I was like, okay, I want to kind of skim through some of these books, see if I see anything interesting. The book was written by a man named Jacob Musk. So you got Dr. Edith Musk, you have Ella Musk, Jacob Musk. Believe it or not, there's a location in the game, bottom right corner of the map, called Musk Reef. I kid you not. There are so many living, breathing, interconnected relationships. Not only is that super fucking cool and rewarding for people like myself who make those discoveries, mind you, this was such a big revelation. I made my first ever Reddit thread talking about this because I joined the Genshin Impact subreddit, and I was like, I made this massive revelation. No one's talking about the lore. This feels like Borderlands. There's so many characters, there's so many interlocking NPC interactions with the main cast, with the with other NPCs, and all people care about is min-maxing and sweating to end game, and then complaining that there's nothing to do in the game, that the gacha system shit and everything else like that, instead of like realizing like there's an entire universe around you. There are so many things that you can immerse yourself in to pass the time when you take your time and enjoy the game. And that's where I am right now. It's so crazy too, because it's such a high level quality of writing, right? From the NPCs to their side quests, and the way that the story is like rhetorically written in a way that feels grounded to our reality, even though it's in a high fantasy setting, right? I think one of the most popular NPCs in the game right now is Little Timmy. I made a video, I posted a video on Twitter and on YouTube talking about him. His dad is a deadbeat who walked out on him and his mom, and that affects him, and he's a little kid. And so for someone like Little Timmy, that's very grounded and relatable, right? There are people who grow up without mothers or grow up without fathers, who walk out on their family, walk out on their responsibilities, and an NPC like that, you can become very attached to that, and there is a lot of suffering and consequences and growth and learning from someone like Timmy, especially as you progress throughout the game. Another character is one who deals with not wanting to disappoint his father. Guy, if you are in Modstad, he is basically a sentry guard. He's guarding one of the entrances into the city, and he writes letters back home to his father, who lives on the Dawn Winery, and he talks about how, he's defending Mondstadt, he's on the front lines, he's fighting monsters and stuff. And one of the quest lines is he wants you to take a trophy of a monster and a letter home to his father, who is very elderly and very old, because he feels like if he tells his father the truth that he's not on the front lines, that he's some doormat, that it would affect his father's health and disappoint him. And his father is so proud and is filled with pride that his son is in the Knights. So there's a lot of like real grounded interactions with NPCs that you just get, and there are some other ones that are very tragic and very heart-wrenching that I really hope people give more of a chance to. This is something that I'm fully committed to right now. It's another reason why I'm not streaming. I'm kind of scouring the plains of Mondstadt, at least, coming across every single NPC, seeing what they say, seeing if they mention any other characters, which some of the NPCs mention playable characters, which is really interesting. Like one guard, I think the guard's name is Marco, or Miles, I think, mentions Fischl, and I was like, holy shit, that's like super cool that one of these lone NPCs is mentioning a playable character by name. So I thought that was really cool. But I just think it's super cool, and it's something that's not very easy to do. Like, it's not like you can easily just take two characters, make them relevant to each other, and then call it a day. It's a whole nother story when you're interlocking different characters who are in different locations doing separate things, but it matters on a greater scale than simply character A, character B, and character C know each other. And again, I really want to compliment the MiHoYo writers. I feel like they'll never watch this video because I ramble forever and I don't know how to shut the hell up. But more so than anything, I just think that it's a little disheartening. It's a little frustrating to me because, like I said, this is a free game. You can download this game right now and experience the same exact story, the same exact gameplay, the same exact music that I'm talking about for your own perspective. There is so much more to this game than people are investing in right now. And I really wish that there was more of a demand for something like this. And honestly, it's something that I'm considering doing, right? I feel like I'm already biting off more than I can chew. Another amazing thing, by the way, is that they give so much awesome flavor text to the weapons. And believe it or not, but somebody on Reddit actually translated the World of Teyvat's language into our English alphabet. So if there's anything in Mondstadt or Leeway that you see, that you read, that's legible, that's not like translated directly, like a sign on a door or something, or a sign like outside of a city, you can actually translate that directly into English. And again, like, that's something that the writers put thought and effort and energy into, and no one's really absorbing or even talking about it, or even feels compelled to invest their time into it. And, you know, again, it's mainly the people who are min-maxing, who are just seeing this game as an excuse to be addicted to something until something else comes along. And I guess, you know, like I said, I'm not trying to say that, like, they can't play that way. Obviously, it's the name of the game, right? It's the gameplay loop, it's the gameplay experience. The gameplay is what carries all of these other, you know, in-depth things that are there to be experienced if you choose to experience it. It's just that, like, I've never seen a game offer so much and be taken for so little. And I'm, like, so invested with the NPCs and the lore more than anything. Like, and the fact of the matter is, this game is still in its infancy. This game is 2 weeks old. So the fact that I'm in it from the beginning and I'm getting invested and I'm checking, you know, I'm checking every single thing that this game has to offer, character interactions, dialogue, quest lines, items, books, flavor text, all that stuff. It's really building this giant web of interlocking relationships and characters, and it's a lot to handle, you know what I mean? And I really want to be able to kind of provide some aspect of content for that, because it's so lacking, because there's a hole in the market for something like that. And I don't know if people even want that. I feel like people would like it because it's like someone else did the research and you're just getting the information, so that could be interesting as well. But yeah, that's definitely something that I'm interested in checking out and doing, because again, it's just another testament to the superb writing team at MiHoYo. And I really think they have something special here, and they're developing and building something special, and they're only going to be adding on to it with more regions and, you know, more lore and more story content in the future. And I'm still catching up to the base game. So yeah, that's kind of just everything that I've just been really hammering home about, talking about on Twitter, in my Discord, with other people who are playing the game as well. And one final send-off before I go, something really quick that I want to say just finally about the gacha system. I understand that people feel like the gacha system is like the boogeyman, right? I don't want to say like, oh, well, you don't have to use the gacha system. If you using it, it's a detriment to yourself to use the gacha system. I understand that the gacha system is there to entice people to roll it, to get a character that they want. Roll it every so often. Don't roll it at the detriment of like, oh, I'm going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if I don't get this one character that I want, then the gacha system is shit, this game is shit, and that's all they did. They just wanted to get my money. There has to be a level of responsibility. There has to be a level of self-control. And at the end of the day, you really have to ask yourself, how much is it worth? Like, is it worth hitting another roll on a chance to get a character that you want? I am very new to the gacha system. I don't play mobile games. This is the first game that I've ever, you know, rolled gachas, and I'll be completely honest, I've gotten ridiculously lucky. There's actually kind of like a going, like a running gag right now that I have like the Midas touch, because like I rolled 2 Ventis on one pull. I rolled Diluc and Fischl on PC and PS4. I rolled a Ningguang and 2 5-star weapons on a single roll. I actually joined a friend's stream, donated $30 to him for his birthday. He hit the gacha, and he got his first 5-star character while I was there from my donation. It was actually Venti. So, like, I feel like, to a degree, I've been incredibly lucky, and I think unless they release new characters, I'm fine with the characters that I have. I think MiHoYo's also been incredibly generous with the amount of Primogens that they've been giving out daily, especially with, like, the Battle Pass, and, you know, if you were to, like, start the game today, you'd have, like, 50 free pulls based on all of the Primogems they've been giving out. So I honestly feel like it's incredibly worthwhile. I'm sorry for rambling. I'm sorry that I can't get my thoughts out in, like, 10-15 minutes. This video's, like, already recording for, like, an hour. But yeah, those are just all of my general thoughts. I just think like the game, there's so much more to this game than being like an Omega Turbo thirsty min-maxer who wants a rushed experience and then complains after the fact that there's nothing to do, when there are books to read, when there are NPCs to talk to, when there are so many other like worthwhile like investing things in the game to do. If your time can't be wasted, you know, if you feel like that's time wasted, I understand that for sure. But there's so much that this game offers, both practically, like when it comes to actually actively playing the game, and then passively when it comes to just reading stuff and taking in the lore and taking in the history. I think it's very much worth it. And I know a lot of people aren't talking about it, but I just felt like this was like a platform for me to just say how much I appreciate the writing team at MiHoYo. Like, I genuinely am invested in everything you guys are putting out right now. And it's a lot to handle. It's a lot to take in. Not going to lie, 2 weeks into the game, there's still a lot that I don't know about. There's still a lot that I'm trying to piece together, especially for NPCs alone. I'm discovering a new NPC every day, actually. I think there's like 40 NPCs, like 30 or 40 NPCs in Mondstadt alone that I'm trying to figure out all their connections and affiliations with each other and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a free game. Give it a shot. Give it an hour. Give it 2 hours. Give it 2 hours. You know what I mean? Give it a 2-hour experience, hit the gacha, play with some of these characters, make it through a couple of story missions, some character missions. If you enjoy the game, if you find it to be fun, refreshing, you know, calming, you know, obsessive, addicting, you know, just give it a try. You have nothing to lose if it's a free game. Don't be afraid of the gacha system. It's not going to hurt you. You can literally play this entire game, experience everything this game has to offer, not spend a single cent, and be 100% satisfied. At least until you reach endgame, and then you have to wait for new content. But, you know, that's the name of the game. With all that said, those are my general thoughts, opinions, and takeaways for Genshin Impact. I'm thoroughly enjoying the game. Like I said, I'd love to know if you guys would like for me to start uploading my Let's Play of the game. Like I said, I've recorded and edited a couple of playthroughs from my Twitch stream. Rather, I've edited a couple of my VODs from Twitch for a Let's Play-esque experience for those of you on YouTube who haven't checked out my Twitch streams. Just to kind of gauge the interest of playing, you know, of people who want to see that experience if they don't frequent Twitch all that much. But yeah, hopefully this video was insightful. Hopefully it was like worthwhile for anyone who's also playing the game who wants to hear my thoughts on it. Hopefully I edit this video well together, like with the visuals on screen compared to what I'm talking about, because I have no idea how I'm going to correlate what I'm saying because I ramble with the visuals on screen. But if anything, hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay that was present on screen. Maybe it gave you a taste test of some of the characters you'll like, or you'll hopefully be able to pull on the gacha or anything else like that. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I love this game. I'm going to be continuing to play it over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully I can finish the story stuff before Ruby, because then it's going to be really hard to juggle work on Ruby Volume 8 and playing this game, and also focusing on finishing up RVB before that. But we'll see when that time comes. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. If you guys are Genshin Impact fans, you guys enjoy the game, you enjoy my insight or anything I had to say, be sure to let me know about all of that in the comment section down below. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Take care.